All right, well, good afternoon. I'm Carla. I'm going to be facilitating this class. I'm not going to teach you anything. I'm going to have an interaction with you, a discussion, and I want to get your ideas and your thoughts, and hopefully as more people join us, they'll be able to share their thoughts as well. I feel that we learn best when we share ideas. You sometimes have things that have happened to you that you've experienced that will teach me. So I'm just here to kind of facilitate some discussion and see where God leads us. So before we start, we're going to be talking today about leadership skills. We've all seen this and experienced this to some degree or another, some more than others, but it's something we've all experienced. So the objective of this class will be to create an awareness of the qualities and traits that a successful youth ministries person, leader, such as adventurers, pathfinders, if you maybe work with Sabbath school classes, if you help up at camp ministries, anything else that you do within the youth ministries, that you should have in order to help lead these young people to Christ. So what specialty do you work in?
Sabbath school and Pathfinder.
Sabbath school and Pathfinders? And how long have you been involved with those?
I think 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
And you're from the Agape Church, Chris,
Yes,
then?
from the-
All right, and Emmanuel.
Yes.
All right. Very nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
I know that there's some people from Fort Collins on their way,
Okay.
stuck in traffic or something, so they'll be here. But thank you for your service. This is a big commitment. It is a very rewarding and fulfilling commitment, but it's one that God truly needs us for and calls special people for. So thank you for that commitment. All right, let's talk about leadership and give a little bit of a definition. James C. George says that leadership is the ability to obtain followers. He also says that once you define leadership as the ability to get followers, you work backward from that point of reference and figure out how to lead. So it's not about becoming that leader and then expecting people to follow you because you're a leader. It's about learning how to get those followers, build those relationships, and from there you become a leader. Does that make sense? All right. Most people define leadership, as I said, as the ability to achieve a position. They're looking for a status or a title, something big way up here. If I'm the leader, people are just going to follow me. But that's not necessarily true. I know lots of people that have been in that title position and not had followers. I recently experienced that at my own place of employment. They hired somebody as a manager, and she didn't get along with people. She didn't have a good leadership role or model that she dispelled upon all of us, and nobody really followed her. I mean, some of us tried to, but it was really hard. She just didn't, portray that vision and a very good leadership role. But people go sometimes after a title or a rank or a position, and once they receive that, then they think they're a leader. Two problems with that. One, like I said, those who possess the status of a leader often experience the frustration of few followers, which she did, and then she quit. After about 18 months, she quit. The other part was those who lack proper titles do not generally see themselves as leaders, and they don't develop their leadership skills. So I don't know what position you hold in Pathfinders, if you're the director or a counselor, but just because, say, it doesn't really matter. You can be a leader. Even if you're a counselor or an instructor, maybe you're teaching an honor, and that's what you're doing. Not that that's all you're doing, but that's what you're doing. You're still a leader. You can still actually lead the director. John Maxwell has a book. We like a lot of John Maxwell stuff, and he has a book, The 360-Degree Leader. It's leading those around you, even your boss at work, or your director in your Pathfinder club, or even your pastor at church. It doesn't matter. You should always be working to lead those around you, even if you're not the head honcho or the person in charge. You don't have that leadership title, you can still mentor up. That's called 360-degree leadership. So just because you may not be the director, and I don't know if you are or not, but you can still be leading those around you. And you're leading the kids. You're leading the Pathfinders. You're leading other staff members. So those are all important things. Give me a leader for a generation, and I will perpetuate the organization for a generation. But help me to develop leaders in every generation, and I will perpetuate the organization forever. All right, conclusion. In Mark 10, the disciples wrestle with the question of leadership. Who will be the greatest? Usually translates into who's going to be in charge. I mean, do you think we still do that today?
Oh, yes.
Like, who's in charge? That's the greatest person? We talked about that when we began this class a little while ago, right? It was some people see it as leadership as a status or a title or a position of power or a rank. Once they get there, then they don't know what to do with it. Okay, great, I'm this so-and-so now, and all these people are going to follow me. That's not what's important. And just because you don't have that title or that position doesn't mean that you're not a leader. We're all leaders. It doesn't matter if you're a staff member, if you're the director, if you're a pathfinder. It doesn't matter. You're leading the people you come in contact with every day, everywhere. You're having an impact on their lives. So you're a leader. So it doesn't matter who's going to be in charge or who is going to be the greatest. That's not leadership. So what did Jesus do? He pointed them in the direction of true greatness and pointed them in the direction of servant leadership. Today here at Denver South, we had our communion Sabbath. And we talked about Jesus. He became a servant at the Last Supper. He washed the disciples' feet. And he got to Simon Peter, and Simon Peter says, "No, Lord, you're not going to wash my feet. Get up, you can't do that. Like, you're like Jesus. You're not going to wash my feet." What did Jesus say to him? "Unless I wash you, you will have no part of me. You will not be clean." So then Simon Peter, he does a lot of what I do. He goes from one extreme, you're not going to touch my dirty, filthy feet, to the other extreme. Well, then don't just wash my feet, wash my hands and my head. I want all of me to be clean. And Jesus says, "You've already bathed. All you need to do is wash your feet. You're clean." But not every one of you here is clean. Jesus knows. But he pointed us in the direction of servant leadership. It's about serving others and looking at the needs of others. And that takes that vision of looking inward to ourselves outwardly. I don't need to supply my needs. Jesus is going to supply my needs.
The other interesting thing about the example of Peter, I think, Peter's recognized as being one of the greatest leaders of the early church. I would dare say, had he not done what he did, as we understand today, we wouldn't have the church today. But the example we can learn from Peter is that to be a good, effective leader, you have to better allow people to do things for you as the leader sometimes. You have to step back and be ministered to as well. Because to be an effective leader, you have to have balance in your life.
Do you think that as a leader that's hard to do? I think so. I think for those who are so used to being a servant leader, it is hard to let others serve you and to take from others. I think and sometimes it's easier to give than get. I know it is for me.
I have a wonderful lady at school. She's our principal's secretary, so we have to, coordinate with a lot of things with her. And she would do anything for people, but she has a really hard time accepting anything back. And I said, that you have to be gracious about that too, because you already are a gracious giver.
Absolutely, yeah. When somebody told us once they were trying to do good things for us, and we're like, no, really. And they're like, don't take that gift away from me. That's what I like to do. Do you like to help others? Well, so do I. By you not accepting my gift, like you're not letting me do what I like to do and serve others. And it was kind of like a wake-up moment, like, oh, okay, I never thought about it like that before. I'm really sorry. Didn't mean to, reject you in a matter of this way they kind of looked at it. So, not that it put me in my place, but just maybe give a different look, a different perspective on it. So, some final thoughts. Jesus does so just like let's go back for a second, just like he pointed the disciples in the right direction of servant leadership, he does the same for us today. Those who want to be most effective leaders in any organization must be willing to unite with God's agenda, give themselves up to His will, okay, and dedicate themselves to seeing children develop into what God wants them to become. This is not about what we want for ourselves or what we want for these kids, but it's God's plan for them. We just have to help them learn His love and His mercy, His grace, the sacrifice that He gave for us, so that they can develop that relation with Him and accept that. So you're all familiar with the Beatitudes in the Bible, right? There are some Beatitudes for youth leaders or something like this. I want to close with this one final thought of a youth Beatitude. Blessed are you when children or youth think of you as a trusted friend. For in establishing this relationship with them, you would have attained one qualification of a good leader.